Hello and welcome. In this video, I want to talk about affordable housing in Kenya and specifically bust the myth that the Mama Mbogas and the borders who are some of the low-income earners in Kenya cannot afford to buy a 3.15 million apartment of the affordable housing houses that the government is providing. There's been a lot of noise around this affordable housing scheme and prominent leaders going around discouraging people from actually taking advantage of this scheme and telling them that you cannot afford. I'm going to show you how actually a border or a Mama Mboga, a household of a border or a Mama Mboga that earns a combined income of about 46 to 52,000 shillings every month can be able to afford a 3.15 million apartment in the affordable housing scheme. And at the end of the day, you're going to need to decide whether, as a Kenyan, you're going to listen to Vitendawili all day long for 4 years, or you're going to take the opportunity and take advantage of the opportunity that is being presented by government and buy you and your family a property. So this video is specifically for my Kenyan audience. And those who actually want to know how they can leverage their combined household income, those couples who want to know how they can leverage their combined household income to buy affordable houses. I'm only using the 3.15 million unit apartment, which is a 2-bedroomed apartment, because that is sort of the average. And I'm looking at a couple with maybe 2 parents and 2 or 3 children. Those ones can easily fit into a 2-bedroomed apartment. There are, of course, 1-bedroomed units and 3-bedroom units and 4-bedroom units that are of different prices, and studio units that are much cheaper. And 1-bedroom units are much cheaper, but a 2-bed unit is the average and more convenient to most families. So this video, like I said, is specifically for my Kenyan audience, and I'm going to be speaking sometimes in Swahili ndio watu waelewe, because kelele mingi sana inapigwa Kenya, and I feel like the news, there's less clarity around this scheme, especially for the hustlers who may not understand the mechanics of how this thing works. And I just want to say one thing before we get into the figures, is that at the end of the day, at the end of this presentation, you will conclude that, or I have come to conclude that, it is actually financial education. Kenyans need financial education rather than handouts or whatever, but more financial education, how money works, mostly in order for them to be able to understand or to be able to afford and utilize the opportunities that the government is affording with this affordable housing scheme. I happen to be in the construction industry, and so I happen to know bits and pieces of information that may help in that area. So I'm going to turn my camera around and I'm going to take you through the numbers. And also you wonder, how can a border make 1,000 shillings a day? Well, I've also worked out the numbers, and I'm using a real case study from my hometown of Bungoma, which I understand very well. So I will turn around the camera and I'll take you through the numbers. Now, here we go. This is my spreadsheet, and you will see, come on now, yeah. What I'm going to show you, I've titled this the case study of a border rider making 1,000 shillings a day with a partner who may be a mama mboga or who may also be a boda rider, and they both bring in a combined income household of about 52,000 shillings a month. And the aim is to purchase a 2-bedroomed apartment unit at 3.15 million Kenyan shillings, which equates to about 20,000 US dollars, so 20,323 US dollars. Now, why 26,000 household income? I've assumed that for 4 days in a month, 1 day of the weekend, they will be taking a rest. So they wouldn't be working and they will be losing that income, that $1,000 a day. So that will translate into just about 26,000 shillings at the end of the month. Now, on here, the house price is about, the house price that we are looking at will be about 3.15 million Kenya shillings. Like I said, that's about 20,000 US dollars. And then combined household income will be 52,000. Now, the deposit required is about 10% of that, which is about 315,000, which is about $2,000. And then estimated monthly payments for the mortgage payment will be about 997, which is about, let's say, 17,000 shillings, which is about $109. And they will be borrowing about 2.835 million Kenya shillings, or they will need to borrow about 18,290 US dollars. Now, I've worked the loan clearance time, how long it will take them to clear this loan at that particular rate. I just took the amount borrowed divided by the number of payments made, which is 16,000, the number of monthly payments made, which is 16,997, and then divided by 12, which came to about, it would take them about 14 years to clear this loan. Now, a question is, where does this money come from for a boda rider? One key thing, one key number that I want to highlight is this deposit required. Where does a boda rider get a deposit of 315,000? I would argue that they can get this from their Sacco. These boda guys and mama mbogas and other low income individuals do have Sacco. And if it's a household that is financially organized, in Swahili tunasema kama mtu na mtu wake wamejipanga poa, kama familia na nini, mko na shares za Sacco, both of you, mama ako na Sacco yake, mzee ako na shares zake za Sacco, you can easily, mnaweza apply kwa Sacco and you can easily go and borrow from your Sacco 315,000 shillings for your deposit for this house. So let's assume muko na pesa ya Sacco. Na kama wewe ni mtu ya boda na hujakuwa na save, then yafaa uanze kusave, hujakuwa na save kwa Sacco, yafaa uanze kusave kwa Sacco ndio ujipange, ndio uweze kupata hii uweze kuutilize hii deposit. You can borrow the deposit from your Sacco. Otherwise, this financial advice that I'm trying to give you, haitakusaidia. So, I'm assuming it's a household ya boda na mama mboga, ama boda na boda, ama other low income household. It could be just your regular teacher or your regular nurse aide or whatever, but the income is, is less. It's about 48 to 52, 56,000 there a month combined household income, which is not much. It's just about $335. But tunajua Kenya tuko na vikundi, tuko na merry-go-round, tuko na pesa ya Sacco na nini na nini. Sasa mama na mzee mna combine, mnaenda kwa Sacco, you borrow your deposit ya 315,000. So umpata deposit, unaweka chini 315,000. Bank ama serikali sasa inakupa 2.8 million. 2.835 million. That is the loan that you're borrowing. Okay? Now, hold that thought for a moment so that I can go down here to explain how a boda can make 1,000 shillings a day just riding. And this one, I've taken a case study of a boda riding in Bungoma. A boda who lives in Bungoma, that's my hometown of Bungoma, and they are ferrying one passenger at a time for 5 to 6 kilometers between Kandui Urban Center to Bungoma Town Center. Why do I pick these two areas? Because this is where I grew up. I know this route. I used to walk this route on foot several times from home to the church, which is in town, sometimes twice. When we were 10 years, when we was 10 years, 11 years, 9 years, all throughout my high school and primary life, we used to walk this route. So I know the route very well, and I know it is doable. Nowadays, people of course use boda, and it's a boda bicycle. I'm not even talking about a motorbike. So it's a boda, which is a bicycle, which means somebody has to pedal while carrying a passenger at the back. And last time I was there, they were charging about $30 from Kandui to Bungoma Town Center. I'm sure right now they charge a little bit more, but I will remain with the conservative figure of $30. I'm sorry, 30 shillings. So price per trip, ni 30. Una charge 30, which is about 0.19 of a dollar. And then to make 1,000 shillings a day, this boda needs to work at least 8.5 hours of productivity plus taking 2 15-minute breaks and a 30-minute lunch break. And they need to make about 34 trips, and each trip, of course, they're charging each trip at a minimum of $30, so that will give them a minimum of 1,020 shillings for that day. Sometimes these guys would work overtime and overnight, and sometimes they'll charge more. But at the end of the day, if they do that, they make those those trips, they can get out with an average of about 1,020. Now remember, this is a bike that they're pedaling, so there's no fuel costs, and the repair costs are very minimal. So at the end of the day, other than their lunch and their snacks for break, they're actually pocketing at least $900 to $1,000 at the end of the day. If it was a motorized boda like a bike, they charge more, so they wouldn't be making $1,000 a day. For a bike, I think they make at least 2,000 shillings a day, not dollars, sorry. So my case study is just based on a boda bicycle, someone pedaling using human energy, and then taking breaks for lunch and just to rest. But if they are doing, say, a tuk-tuk in Bungoma, between Bungoma and the city and the town center, carries at least 4 passengers, 4 or 5 passengers, and each passenger is paying about $30. So you can see per trip, 30 times 5, that is about $150 per trip. And then when you get $150 per trip, and they're doing 34 trips, and a tuk-tuk will probably do more than 34 trips. They could actually do probably twice that even, because they're using gas, they're not using human energy. So you go 150 multiplied by even, let's say they do 60 trips in a day. Those guys can net in a cool 9,000 shillings, and you take out maybe 2,000 for gas and other incidentals and maintenance and whatever. They have about 7,000 shillings a day if they really work hard. Now, why do I say 8 hours of productivity? Normally, every other person in every other job works at least 8 hours, so there's no reason why a boda shouldn't, who is self-employed, shouldn't put in also the minimum required 8 hours of productivity. So now that we know about a bicycle, pedaling a bicycle using human energy, carrying 1 passenger, traveling a distance of between 5 to 7 kilometers between Kanduyi and Bungoma, and you can multiply this case study across the entire country of Kenya, and they are making 34 trips, they can make 1,000 shillings a day, which translates to about 26,520 shillings a month, or $171 a month, and that is 1 person. Now, assuming the wife or the partner, whoever that may be, is also making the same amount of money, and I know so because I know some Mbogas in Bungoma make up to 1,000 shillings a day in profit after expenses. So it's possible. Okay, we all agree on that. It's not even, I'm not even inventing these things. We all agree that Mbogas, on average, and they make at least 1,000 shillings a day in profit. Now we have a household of 2 low-income earners making on average 1,000 shillings a day and about 52,000 shillings a month in income. Even when you remove taxes, that's about 10%